So the founder of Ahrefs just launched a brand new search engine that's attempting to compete with Google. And in this video, I'll share what this new search engine is all about, how it will affect the SEO industry, and potential ranking factors based on my early analysis. So if you're excited about this video, like it right now, and let's dive right in. Okay, so first things first, what is Yep? So like I mentioned, this is a brand new search engine created by the founder of Ahrefs, which is a very popular SEO tool. In fact, it is really one of the most popular along with SEMrush. So these two really compete head to head. And so this has been in the works for many, many years. And ultimately what the founder of Ahrefs wants to do is it wants to share revenue with creators. And the reason is pretty simple. It actually stems from an article back here in 2019 that he published, which really goes through this whole argument that, Google's really just profiting based on other people's content, other people's work. And it is true. I mean, Google is not a source of information itself. All it does is crawl other websites and other pages and takes those pages without any consent whatsoever and puts them in their search results. Now, once again, you can stop Google from crawling your site. You could put a no index tag on your website. You could stop it through the robots.txt file. So if you really were being a purist and you didn't want Google to index your content, then you could certainly block it. Now, most people aren't going to do that because Google is such a powerful way to drive organic traffic. But I get the argument. It is true. When I publish it and I work super hard on a piece of content, I publish that on my blog, sometimes I spend 6 to 12 hours writing one piece of content. And so to not be rewarded financially for that, that is a little alarming in some ways, because in any other context, you would get rewarded for the work that you're doing. So even on YouTube, this video on YouTube, I will get compensated based on how many people view this content because of the ads. So Google is giving back in that way, but is at least on YouTube, but not so much in the actual organic results. So will that change? Probably not, but still it's a good reason to maybe create a separate competitor to combat this particular issue. Now, with that said, Yep has their work cut out for them, because the truth is, yes, this is great for creators. It's a really good thing, but how and why would someone use Yep instead of using Google? Because Google completely dominates the market. So when we look at the search results here, and the market share, Google since 2010 has been roughly 90% of the total market search share. So, and it's gone down a little bit, but not much, right? I mean, there's Bing and Yahoo have tried to make their dents, but ultimately not a whole lot has changed. And there's also DuckDuckGo as well. But Google is the dominant player in search. And the reason is pretty simple, because it really is the best search engine, but it also has extreme brand awareness. Like Google is a verb. I'm going to Google something. And that's a very challenging thing to overcome. So, personally, I would never want to try to compete against Google at this point, because they're just so incredibly powerful. And the truth is, if Google does see that Yep as a competitor, they're going to do what it takes to make their life very, very difficult. So with that said, though, in this video, I really want to focus in on Yep versus Google. So how are Yep's search results relative to Google? Are they good? Are they relevant? Or are they not so great relative to Google? So now let's talk about some of the findings here that I've kind of discovered. So let's dive into this next part, and I'm going to show you search results for 3 different queries, and I'm going to show you my preliminary analysis of what I think ranking factors are on Yep. Now, this will change over time as they refine their algorithm, but for the most part, I have a pretty good idea of what would work in the search engine if I wanted to manipulate this one in particular. So let's dive right in. Okay, so the first set of search results I want to show you here are for payday loans. So you'll see here on the left, we have Google, on the right, we have Yep. And what you can tell right away is that Google is showing geo-targeted results. And so the reason is pretty simple, because Google has enough data to know that the intent behind this is typically going to be localized. So they know that they need to deliver localized results, because typically people are going to want to get payday loans in whatever their location is. And so Yep, not being around for that long and also doesn't have that much data, they're delivering more kind of general results about payday loans, not so much specific to the location. So if we look at this, a couple key things, obviously local pack, no local pack here. People also ask, which is actually pretty useful if you're trying to learn more about payday loans, no other SERP features here, okay? And then the next one, which is really interesting, is the first two results here are Missouri specific, okay, location specific. But if we go over here, the only thing that's location specific is California, and that's not relevant to me personally in St. Louis. So right away, we have some issues here with relevance, okay? So it's not super relevant. That's also because Yep is not collecting as much data as Google. They're more focused on privacy. So, there are trade-offs, right? So you can sacrifice a little bit of privacy and data, but get far better relevance, or you can have a lot of privacy and really poor relevance. So you have to weigh those factors. And Google's got on the side of not a lot of privacy, but really relevant results, while Yep is trying to kind of follow the DuckDuckGo model. Now, you can see the outcome of that. Now, if we look at this, keep going down here, you'll see the results. There are a couple similar results. So I'll actually show you. So if we look at this, I've actually exported the results. So this first block here is Yep, and the second block here is for Google. And so there's a couple key things you're going to want to notice here. So the initial results, 3 results appeared in both search results. So in the case of Yep and in the case of Google, we had 3 total pages that appeared in both, okay? The order was shifted pretty dramatically, but for the most part, 3 of the same were listed. Now, here's where it gets really interesting though. When I start to analyze the websites that are ranking, things get really fascinating. So you'll see right away, this site here, easy online payday loan, okay? So right away, we have a keyword-rich domain that is ranking in the number 3 spot. So right away, I immediately start to think that their algorithm is favoring keyword-rich domains. So that's really the first thing that I notice. Second thing I notice is the amount of government and educational links. So you'll see these first 2 results, they have a lot of .edu links, okay? And it doesn't seem like a lot right here, but as you show you these next couple examples, you'll see that Yep is really favoring .gov and .edu links, while Google, it is to a certain extent, but not really, right? And then the other big factor is the quantity of links, okay? So you look at the quantity of links here. We're looking at 37,000 on average for Yep and only 4,600 for Google. So that means that Yep is really valuing the quantity of backlinks that a particular page has, while Google is a little more sophisticated. It's not just going to rely only on links. And so it's definitely a more sophisticated algorithm. So, and then the other part of this is looking at referring domains. Once again, total referring domains, 700 on average. Right here, only 214 for Google. So what this tells me is that Yep is, first of all, reliant on exact match domains or keyword-rich domains, really valuing links that come from .gov or .edu, and also they value the quantity of backlinks. Notice I said the quantity, I didn't say the quality, because you're going to see here in a second that quality doesn't seem to really matter a whole lot. And that's why in the case of this, you see these lower numbers as far as do follow links on Google search results, because the quality of those links is going to be higher. Now let's look at this one, easy online payday loan. We'll go ahead and take a look at that particular domain. And this is the one that's ranking. And so you can see the anchor text right away, okay? So number 1 anchor text, payday loan, which is the exact keyword that I searched. So this is your classic, over-optimized, keyword-rich anchor text strategy that worked before Penguin 1.0 when Google launched that algorithm update. So what I'm seeing is like tactics that worked pre-Penguin are what will work in Yep. That's to be expected. Yep is new. It doesn't have the the history and the data to make, a really sophisticated algorithm. So that's the first part. Okay, so as we look at this link profile, you can see that there's a whole lot of old school tactics being used. So a couple here are, link comment spam. So you can see they have a link here in this blog comment section. These pretty much have no utility at all, but it's one way to manipulate anchor text at a higher level. Once again, another one here. And then another type of link that they're using are just simple Web 2.0 links. This is a very old school strategy, but they're still using it. And then we look at Weebly, another one here. This is another Web 2.0 link. So, these types of links are very, very dangerous. And that's why when we look at the performance of this site, it's not going too well from the perspective of Google, because Google is using, very, very different ranking factors, and Google's able to identify links that are, being used for manipulation, links that are purposely designed to improve SEO performance. Now, at the end of the day, everyone doing SEO is trying to manipulate rankings, but there's a certain way to go about it that is safer and less risky. These types of tactics are risky. Now, with that said, if you're trying to rank in Yep, then this might be a good strategy for you, because based on what I've told you so far, one of the most important factors on Yep is just literally the quantity of do follow referring domains and the quantity of backlinks. So, clearly at this point, Yep hasn't really figured out how to distinguish between what a high quality link is and what a low quality link is. They don't really have that built well into their algorithm. So it's susceptible to, link manipulation, anchor text manipulation. And that's why you're going to see sites like this ranking, and you're not going to see sites like this ranking in Google, because Google's really, really good at stopping this. So, and then if we go and look at the anchor text profile, you'll see that it's pretty rough, right? So look at the anchor text here. Payday loan is the #1 anchor text here. Go to this other one. This is another one that's ranking. Once again, aggressive anchor text optimization. Another one here, aggressive anchor text optimization, a little less than the others, but still aggressive. And then this one also very, very aggressive. So, all of the pages that are ranking on the first page for this query are all using old school link building tactics, gray hat SEO, borderline black hat SEO, and just using really aggressive anchor text. And so that's what will work on Yep until they get it figured out. But let's go ahead and move on to another keyword just to kind of continue down this trend to see, is this just this one keyword, or is it all of the ones that I've tested? Okay, so now we're looking at Los Angeles personal injury lawyer. And what you can see, very similar to the other result for payday loans, we're going to see a lot of localization in these results. So when it comes to Google, Google is really showing pure local results here. So we have obviously, running ads here, and then we have the local pack, and then we have people also ask. So there's a lot more SERP features, just a lot more depth in these SERPs. But when we look over here on Yep, there are, it's pretty mixed, right? And what we're going to see here in a second is, first of all, there's no local pack, which is, makes things pretty interesting. But if we go and look at the results here, you'll see that about, once again, 3 out of 10 results are, showing up in Yep and then showing up in Google. So this is Google here on the bottom. This is Yep at the top. But once again, we're going to see very, very similar outcomes as far as data. So once again, if we look at the quantity of referring domains, we'll go ahead and mark this out for you so you can see it. 337 referring domains for the sites that are ranking, only 47 for Google, okay? Then we look at total backlinks. We're looking at 20,000 backlinks, okay, versus only 10,000 backlinks on average. So once again, Yep is giving more weight to backlink volume, okay? So that does matter a lot. And then also one thing you'll notice too is a lot of weight given to directory sites. So, right here we have Justia, we have Expertise, and we have actually 2 from Super Lawyers. So roughly 40% of these SERPs are these directory-based sites. And you actually have one website that's ranking twice for the same keyword on the same IP address. So Google's pretty good at that. Google won't show, very, very rarely now at this point will Google rank two pages from the same domain and the same IP It doesn't happen very often these days. You'll find instances of it, but for the most part, Google's gotten pretty good at giving pretty diverse results based on the queries. So, these little subtleties you don't really think about because we do take Google for granted, but it just shows you how difficult it is to create a great search engine. And this is a perfect example. So, and even when we look at Google, there's only one directory site right here ranking in this particular result. So that means only 10% of the results are directory sites. All the rest are actual businesses in this location, which is how it should be, honestly. I mean, we shouldn't have all these directory sites ranking. We should have actual businesses because that's what people are looking for. People are searching for a Los Angeles personal injury lawyer. Now, if you can give them, a curated list that can actually help them make an educated decision, then that makes sense. But for the most part, you should see real businesses when you're searching for business. But once again, heavy reliance on links from Yep. So, this is going to be the trend too when we look at SEO tool as well. But if you look at this, another example here is look at the referring domains, the .edu and the .gov. Okay. So once again, a heavy reliance on .edu links, and then on Google, there's not a heavy reliance on these links. So look, 25 referring domains that are educational, 12, 11. So clearly there is a factor here that is being overweighted as far as .edu and .gov. And more than likely, Yep just said, well, in most cases, .gov and .edu are sources of high trust and high authority. Therefore, if these pages have links from those TLDs, therefore we should improve their performance, okay, along with these other factors. So, obviously their factors, referring domains, total backlinks, and then any instances of .edu or .gov will certainly help, at least in the case of Yep, not so much in the case of Google. And so then let's move on to the last one here, which is SEO tool. And this one's the most fascinating because, you're going to see some interesting stuff here, right? So we have a bunch of ads. We have the normal players that you would see, SEMrush, Ahrefs, Moz, SE ranking, all in the ads. And so this is a very, very lucrative keyword to try to rank for. Now, we can say what we want, but if we look at Yep, is it a coincidence that Ahrefs is ranking #1 in their own search engine? I would like to say that it's just a coincidence, but let's be honest here, it probably is not. Because more than likely, they've probably structured their algorithm to reward certain signals that they have. So if we go and look at this in the normal search results, we'll go and see that. Let's just look at the data, okay? So instead of just listening to people and their opinions, we can just look at the data here. So a couple key things. So like I mentioned, when we look at this, this is the Yep search results, okay? And then this is the Google search results, okay? So within these results, we have roughly 5 pages that are ranking in Yep, but are also ranking in Google. So the much better spread than the other ones. So pretty close to Google results, but not in full. But then things get interesting. We start to look at, once again, looking at the referring domains, okay? So we have referring domains, 8,000, okay? 8,000 referring domains versus only 4,000 in Google. Then we look at the total backlinks. Once again, 300, looking at 371,000 versus 213,000. So once again, we have a extreme disparity between these, which means that Yep relies heavily on backlink volume and referring domain volume. But the last part of this, which is the most fascinating, is when we look at the .gov and .edu. Now, like I said, this could just be a coincidence, but Ahrefs just happens to have the most .gov and .edu links in this set against their specific competitors. So it doesn't look great, right? Because it almost looks like Ahrefs analyzed all the variables that they could use, and they saw that they had an advantage in these specific variables, and then said, you know what, let's turn the knob on .gov and .edu because that would give us an advantage for this particular keyword, right? I'm not saying they did that. But I'm just saying it's just a little coincidental. So let me know in the comments what you think about this. A little unique. And I think it's, hopefully it's not a conflict of interest. Hopefully that wasn't done with, focused intent, but you never know. Maybe these things happen subconsciously. Maybe they didn't even realize they're doing it, but deep down inside, they knew they wanted to rank for SEO tool, which is probably their most important keyword of all. And so, maybe subconsciously they just kind of, turn the knob on these variables. And we look at it across the board, payday loans, once again, high instances of .gov.edu for the pages that are ranking here, once again, and then SEO tool, really, once again, a lot. And so, interpret this data how you want, but at the end of the day, there's just a few obvious factors here. And I have a feeling if I continue to do this across many SERPs, I'm probably going to find pretty similar results, because I don't think that Yep is really at a sophisticated level yet as far as their algorithm, which is to be expected. I think Google's got a little bit of time and a little more resources than them. So it's going to be quite some time before they develop a sophisticated algorithm at the level that Google. And plus, they're not using data that Google uses. Google uses all the data at their disposal to deliver the most relevant results, while Yep is trying to focus more on privacy. So like I mentioned, the trade-offs. But for the most part, Yep is the factors that work on Yep, quantity of backlinks, ultimately, anchor text, keyword-rich anchor text, even keyword-rich domains. So pretty much anything that worked back in the day for SEO will probably work really well for Yep. But I wouldn't recommend doing that, because you're going to lose probably all of your traffic on Google. So I wouldn't exactly optimize for Yep. In my personal opinion, I'm going to continue to optimize for Google, because they own 90% of the search market share. But if one day Yep starts to own a larger share of the market, then maybe we'll start to look into it. But for the most part, you should still be optimizing for Google, because there's just no indication that Yep is going to take over Google in any way at this point. And plus, there's a clear indication that if you optimize for Yep in particular, you're actually going to hurt your performance in Google pretty severely. Okay, so thank you so much for watching this video. And if you got a lot of value out of it, please like the video and don't forget to subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video.